So good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining today. And my name's Alisha Thompson. I'm the CTO for Team Air. I think I've met some of you, and I'm so excited to join you guys. I started working for Team Air back in September of this last year, and I can't say enough just about the team and about how welcoming and nice everybody has been. And I can't wait to get to know more about each and every one of you. And I hope to make this as interactive as possible. I kind of went crazy on the polls a little bit, so forgive me. There's several polls throughout this presentation, and they're meant to be fun and also informative in a way that we can just get together and talk a little bit more. So I'm really super excited to talk about this topic. It's one of my favorite subjects to discuss. So welcome to AI The Basics. This is part one of a 4-part series we're running this year. The future sessions will be over prompting techniques, hands-on tool demonstration, tips and tricks to get the most out of AI in our day-to-day work. So the goal of the session today is simple: to give you a practical, business-focused intro to AI. We'll discuss what AI actually is, where companies are using it right now, and how Team Air is beginning to adopt it responsibly for productivity and value. So I appreciate everyone getting started with the first poll, and let's move on to the agenda. So here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the fundamentals. What is AI and how has it evolved over the decades? Then we'll get into machine learning and generative AI, so you understand the technology behind the tools that you use every day. And then we'll look at the real world adoption and how companies across industries are putting AI to work right now and what tools are available to us. Then we'll bring it home to Team Air, our current AI initiatives, potential use cases, and the regulatory and ethical guardrails we need to keep in mind. So let's get started. So I'm going to kick off another poll, and I'd like to ask everyone, what is the first word that comes to mind when someone mentions AI? So I'm going to close this poll and launch this one. So I'm going to put this in there. So let's see, we've got some coming in right now. Skynet. Love that. ChatGPT, robots, automation, Armageddon, great news, news helpful. So a lot of really good feedback. Smart, artificial tool. And so what's the automation and robots are winning so far across? Claude, augmentation, risk, tools for enhancement, iRobot, energy. Very cool. Nice. So automation, robots, artificial, ChatGPT. So what is artificial intelligence? And I'll just leave this on as people think more about different words that may come to mind. At the core, AI is a technology that enables machines to perform tasks that typically require human intelligence. Things like understanding language, analyzing data, and recognizing patterns. In traditional IT, programmers write explicit rules like, if this, then that. AI flips that model, and instead of coding every rule by hand, we feed the system data. It learns patterns on its own. That means these systems can actually improve over time as they see more data. Now, why does that matter for us? AI can automate routine, repetitive tasks, freeing our people up for strategic, higher value work. It can analyze massive amounts of data to surface trends and insights that we might miss, and it can personalize experiences, predict outcomes, and help our competitive advantage. And so now it's an important distinction. The AI use today is more narrow. It's trained to do specific tasks very well, but it cannot think or reason broadly. Artificial general intelligence, or AGI, is the idea that a system could understand, learn, and apply knowledge across any domain the way a human brain does. This is still a future concept, but it's why regulation and guardrails are already so important. I'm going to close this poll down. Thank you guys for participating in that. It's interesting to see the feedback. AI is not new. In fact, the field has been evolving over the past 70 years. It started in the 1950s when Alan Turing proposed this test and an idea that if a machine could hold a conversation and you couldn't tell it from a human, it should be considered intelligent. And so this kicked off decades worth of research. In the 1980s, machine learning emerged. Expert systems became popular in business, which are these rule-based systems that could mimic decision-making of a human specialist. The 2000s brought the revival of neural networks and the birth of deep learning. This was powered by faster computers and much larger databases. In 2014, we actually had a machine pass the Turing test at the Royal Society of London, which was a major milestone. And then in 2022 on, everything accelerated. ChatGPT launched, generative AI exploded into the mainstream, and now we're seeing AI agents that can handle multi-step workflows autonomously. The pattern here is clear. Each were driven by increases in computing power, data storage, and improved algorithms, and the pace is only getting faster. So what is machine learning? It's a subset of AI, which it is the engine behind most of the AI tools that you hear about today. The key difference is on this slide. With traditional programming, humans write the rules and feed the data to get the output. With machine learning, you give the system lots of examples along with the expected answers, and then it figures out the rest and the rules that it needs to use. So this is a fundamentally different approach. It's powerful because the system gets better over time as it sees more data. It powers recommenders, fraud detection, demand forecasting, image recognition. And a really relatable example of this is Netflix. Their recommendation engine analyzes what you watch, when you watch it, what you skip, and then what similar viewers enjoyed. It uses multiple machine learning models and filters, uses deep neural networks, and it continuously updates as new viewing data streams in. Well, the result is the majority of what people watch on Netflix comes from the algorithmic recommendations, not manual searching. And so this keeps viewers engaged and also reduces the cancellation on Netflix as well. And so machine learning is also behind those thumbnail images that you get to pick for your profile. Netflix shows you and it catches your eye because this is based on your viewing patterns and history. Now let's zoom into generative AI, which is the technology driving the biggest wave of adoption right now. And this slide shows how the different layers fit together like nesting dolls. So at the broadest level, you have artificial intelligence, and this is the theory and the methods to build machines that think and act like humans. So this is at the top. Next, you have machine learning, which we went over. So this is like Netflix and how Netflix works. And within that, you have deep learning, which uses neural networks, which are inspired by the human brain. And at its core, you have generative AI. And generative AI has the ability to create entirely new content, text, images, audio, video, code. Well, the foundation models are the starting point for this. They're massive models trained on huge, broad data sets that are fine-tuned for many different applications. Then you have the large language models, which are specialized type of foundation models, and specifically generating text by predicting the next word in the sequence. And then these applications that you know, such as ChatGPT, Copilot, Midjourney, DALL-E, Sora, they're all built on top of these LLM foundation models. So, and you can see I created, this is one of our team photos at the top at the Hamilton branch with one of our partners, and I created that with ChatGPT. So, yeah, and I think that everybody remembers creating their own avatar on ChatGPT, how fun that was. Of course, it looks nothing like any of us, but it's sure fun to do. The training costs are very expensive. So GPT-4 cost approximately $100 million to train. GPT-5 costs around $500 million per training run. So the total development estimated for this was around 1.25 to 2.5 billion. And so that's why all these tools are so expensive. They require top of the line GPUs to be running for weeks or months. And so that's why it was so expensive to be able to do that. So in the future, these costs will lower, but for right now, some of these tools are really expensive. Let's look at how the data on the companies are actually using AI today. So the headline is striking. 88% of organizations use AI in at least one business function, according to McKinsey. And the companies collectively spent 37 billion on generative AI in 2025 alone, which was 3.2 times higher than the year before. So breaking it down by function, in customer service, AI now auto replies to 45% of incoming questions and queries. So the response times have been able to drop from 6 hours to under 4 minutes. In marketing and sales, 85% faster campaigns have been seen in execution, and companies are seeing 25% revenue increases with 30% shorter sales cycles. 72% of teams in finance are using AI for invoice processing, fraud detection, and compliance automation. And on here, I mentioned in 4, we're investing in Velocity Suite, which our first project is going to be working with our AP team, and we'll be working closely with Jonathan and Deke to look at automating some of that manual side of invoice processing to free up our team's capacity for more strategic work and analyzing that versus some of the manual things. And I also put, moving back to the customer service, the Delta chatbot, which I love. It's helped rebook flights, fix existing errors in my trips, and it's just a great customer service chatbot, which I use regularly. On supply chain, this is a 20+ billion dollar market, projected to reach 134 billion by 2029. Customers like Amazon use machine learning for demand forecasting and inventory allocation. HR has seen 80% adoption rate for talent matching, and then you can see it can also predict employee turnover by 87% accuracy, which is pretty interesting. AI agents are the biggest emerging trend with AI. So 62% are experimenting with AI agents. And the easiest way I can explain this is, you know how you talk back and forth with ChatGPT? That's different than an agent because it's a back and forth. With the agents, you're able to say, okay, I want you to do this. Like, I want you to create this dashboard and update this information on a daily basis. It goes and does all this for you. And so it is executing a multi-step workflow that you tell it to do without you having to intervene. That's what an agent is. And so adoption is supposed to reach 74% within 2 years for agent. And so on average, workers are saving between 40 to 60 minutes a day with AI tools. And McKinsey estimates the long-term productivity potential to reach $4.4 trillion. let's talk about the tools. We're going to launch a few polls. I'm going to go poll crazy here for a second and launch some polls because I want to hear how often you use the tools, where do you mainly use them, what best describes your comfort level with AI, and everybody is at a different place in their journey, and that's perfectly fine. So let's see, let's launch some polls here. And this first one is, how often do you use AI tools such as either ChatGPT, Copilot, Gemini in a typical week? So you can see never, rarely, so 1 to 2 times, maybe sometimes 3 to 5 weeks. And so often is daily, and constantly is multiple times a day. So I'm going to submit my answer. Let's see. And so the results are coming in. It looks like 31% constantly, 28% often. So a lot of folks are between often and constantly, so multiple times a day. And then we've got sometimes showing up, never, rarely. So we've got a good spread here across the board. And then I'm going to open up. I don't know how this is going to look because I'm going to launch a couple at the same time. Where do you mainly use AI? Is it for work, for personal tasks, for learning? And then I don't use AI is also another option for folks. You can multiple click different instances of how you use it as well. So most use it at work. It's about an even split between work and personal tasks, and then some for learning and education as well. Let's see. And then we're launching what best describes your comfort level with AI tools. Very uncomfortable, somewhat uncomfortable, neutral, somewhat comfortable, very comfortable. So it looks like that it's between somewhat and very comfortable is what's dominating across. I'm going to close some of these others out. And what's the winner is somewhat comfortable at 41%, with very comfortable trailing at 23%. And then one more poll, I promise, on this is, what's your primary AI tool today? So which one do you use? So ChatGPT is the clear winner. Got Perplexity and Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude. Yeah, a lot of people are going crazy over Claude co-work right now. Apple Intelligence, Copilot. Yeah, GPT I figured would be the clear winner. And it is. It's just broadly used and is very good. So I'm going to close this poll. And so first, we're going to talk about chat a little bit. Each one of these have their own strengths, what they're good at. And we're piloting Copilot for a few folks based on business case. It sits within our Microsoft tenant, which means no information leaves Team Air's environment. And so nothing is used to train the model. We use it for meeting summaries, email drafts, and content creation. I use it on a daily basis. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not so good. I mainly use it for meeting preparation and being able to go through all the emails so that way I don't forget something, which is very likely unless I use this. ChatGPT is great for creative and general purpose tasks. Drafting text, brainstorming ideas, educational help. But it's important to note, do not share confidential or sensitive team air information there, because external tools may use your prompts to train their models. And so I know about one story, a lady had uploaded her scans from her doctor, and they ended up showing on general search results for everybody. So that's kind of scary. So watch out for that. Be safe. Perplexity is an AI-powered search engine. And so what you can think of is this is like Google on steroids. And in fact, I've almost completely switched over to Perplexity. I haven't used Google in years, except for rarely. Um, What's nice about this is it does real-time scanning across the web, and it also provides sources. So you can cite all the information that it gives you, and it gives you a path of how it came up with that, which I think is really valuable. The Infor AI chatbot, we're really excited. We signed up for an early adopter program for Infor. And so everyone that has access to CSD will also have access to this Gen AI chatbot. Now, right now, you have access to the Infor CSD knowledge base. So you can look up things like, what do these codes mean on here? And how to guidance on, how do I place an order? Where do I look this up to be able to know where the inventory screen is in CSD? But in the middle of April, we'll have these connected to all the different Infor databases, and you'll be able to ask really specific questions on customers, on orders, inventory, all using natural language, how you would ask a coworker. So we're very excited about this, and there'll be more training that will come out from this. And make sure to follow our AI acceptable guidelines, which we'll talk about on one of our last slides here. Some of our AI initiatives here within Team Air, we talked about Copilot. This is our productivity play, and it's integrated with Outlook, Excel, Word, PowerPoint, and Teams. And we talked about it being able to compose emails, policy drafts, and we're running the mini proof of concept right now. And we plan to expand to some business users as well. Focus, which is listed at the top, this is our replacement to MITS, and this will be leaps and bounds more sophisticated than MITS. And in fact, it has an AI agent within Focus that we all can use out of the gate. So we can ask questions like, show me the trends in Tennessee sales for 2026. Focus will automatically generate a dashboard for you that you can edit and save. So very cool things happening there. And this is coming out in the next few weeks for everyone that had MITS and needs access to it. And we have our champions. I'm sure you guys saw the note. They'll also be able to help you with that. We talked about the Infor chatbot. So you can ask things like, show me the top 10 products that are sold this year, that are sold last year, this month, this week, whatever you want to ask. And tell me specifics about this customer, XYZ. When did they first place an order? When did they last place an order? Tell me all the information you have about this customer. So this is coming in mid-April. Our dev team is using lovable.dev. And this is an app that you can use to rapidly prototype business critical applications. Our development team has used this to create Sales Compass and also Inventory Atlas. And I know that those have been a huge hit. So Aaron and Thomas have brought this in and have really been doing some amazing things with it. And in the past, just in the past year, the advances on this have been amazing. So what would have taken months and six figures to create, now our development team can prototype these really critical applications much faster with richer features that are customized to our environment and our needs. So one thing I want to always emphasize is that AI is not always the right tool. Sometimes a system integration, a simple one, is the better answer. So if you're not sure, consult your local IT rep. That's what we're here for. And then next, our last poll question that I'm going to ask is, We want to hear your ideas to discuss them as a group. Where could AI drive process efficiencies and improvements in your area? So I'm going to see if I can launch this one. This will also be a word cloud. And so as you consider this in your daily workflow, where are the pain points? Where do you spend time on repetitive tasks that could be automated? Where are you making decisions that could benefit from better data analysis? And the best use cases generally come from people doing the work every day, not from IT. So we generally want to hear from you. So let's look at this. So far, we've got inventory as the clear winner. We've got performance, detailed performance, sales reports, purchasing, creating SOPs. That's a really good one. Inventory, definitely. Variance analysis, sales reports, very good information and feedback there. Let's see, what else have we got? Warranties as well. Productivity, lost sales. Exactly. Being able to track that down to identify root cause. Prospect list, tech support. Nice. Tons of great ideas. Love it. See, I'll keep this poll open here because we're still getting HRI matches. That's really good. Variance analysis, product matches, finding documentations, discount trends, and some of these could be answered with some of the initiatives that we're going through now. And as we evolve Atlas and as we evolve Focus and be able to use that, and then Sales Compass, some of those things could be built into those tools as features. And then also our N4 Gen AI chatbot could do some of these as well. Market trends, that's a big one. Absolutely. So love it. And so here are some of the use cases we've identified across the business. And some of these, I was talking to Aaron the other day that we're already doing some of these things. I know sales and marketing is very much experts in ChatGPT, and they're generating content and for campaigns and analyzing HVAC market trends. We're looking at feedback as well to stay ahead of the competition. So, and also in distribution, demand forecasting of HVAC equipment helps us stock the right products at the right time. And so this is something that we want to focus on in the future to see how we could better do forecasting and to optimize our operations and then delivery routes. So in IT, we're already using AI for code generation, including SQL queries, and then doing code reviews to catch errors and security flaws faster. Finance can also benefit from prescriptive forecasting that goes beyond predictions to actually recommend strategies, such as pieces of the accounts payable automation that we talked about with some of the more manual side of invoice processing. Legal can use this for drafting and reviewing vendor agreements, and AI chatbots can help with compliance questions. Customer service, AI can transcribe and summarize contractor calls, and chatbots can surface HVAC product knowledge to help our team answer questions faster. So these are starting points, but the real value comes when you bring your domain knowledge and pair it with what AI can do. Here's a chart from Gartner that lists the top use cases for generative AI that companies are currently implementing. You can see the most common applications center around productivity and customer-facing apps. This is where AI can deliver quick, measurable returns. And this aligns well with what we're seeing here at Team Air. Many of the use cases we discussed fall squarely into these top categories. So I won't read all of these, but you can get a quick look. So real-time speech and text translation for customer service, especially with the international locations, they're really using this. Virtual customer assistant, such as the Delta app that I mentioned earlier. Marketing, so chatbots and then search and advertising optimization, sales, general business intelligence. So that would go into what we're doing for focus. Finance, so revenue and spend data classification, procurement, sourcing and contract lifecycle management, and then in HR, job descriptions and skills data. Now let's shift to the regulatory side, because as AI adoption accelerates, so does regulation. Here in the United States, all 50 states introduced legislation in 25, with over 1,000 bills pending nationwide. That's huge. So let's focus on the Southeast because this is our home territory. Tennessee leads with the Elvis Act, passed in 24. And this is the first U.S. law to explicitly protect a person's voice from cloning. We also have the Tennessee Information Protection Act, which gives consumers the right to opt out of automated decisions. There are pending bills on child safety and criminalizing AI trained as a human companion. Florida passed a digital bill of rights requiring disclaimers on political ads that use deepfakes. North Carolina established an AI leadership council requiring state agencies to assess AI risks. Virginia has had consumer data protection since 23 and requires human decision-making even when AI is used in criminal justice. Kentucky requires government disclosure when AI is used in public communications. On the European side, the AI Act is the world's first comprehensive AI law. It uses a risk-based tiered framework prohibiting systems that were banned in February of 2025 to general purpose AI rules effective in August 2025. So this is high risk enforcement. The current US administration favors more of an innovation first approach with minimal regulatory burden, whereas Europe is more focused on the enforcement side versus the innovation side. The key takeaway is regulation is coming from all directions, which is exactly having our own internal guidelines matters. At Team Air, we take security and responsible AI usage seriously. There are 5 pillars of our guidelines. So first is reliability and accuracy. Always verify the AI generated results with credible sources before making significant decisions. AI is a powerful assistant, but it's not infallible. Treat the output as a strong starting point, but not the final word. Second, transparency and understandability. Prioritize the tools that show their sources and explain how they arrived at the answer. And when you share the AI generated content with colleagues, disclose that it was created with AI and which tool that you use. Third, and this is critical, is privacy and security. Never share confidential, personal, or sensitive data online. Many of these services use your prompts to train their models. Now, Copilot within our Microsoft tenant is safe, so is Focus, so is Infor as well. And so you can upload as much as you want about company data on these internal AI tools because it is safe. And fourth, ethical usage. Stick to legal and ethical standards. Do not use AI to generate harmful, offensive, misleading content, and be mindful of potential biases in AI outputs. I know whenever I ask questions, AI will say, "Oh, great question. So happy you thought of this." You know, it definitely will blow up your ego too positively. So you've got to think there's a huge bias whenever AI is talking to you. So keep that in mind. And fifth, follow the do's and don'ts. in the acceptable use guidelines document, which is available in Paycom. When in doubt, reach out to your IT team or the executive team. We would much rather you ask than to take a risk. And so now we'll open it up for questions. There are no bad questions here. This is new territory for everyone, and we want to make sure you leave today with a solid understanding. And if we can't answer something on the spot, we'll absolutely follow up with you afterward. And I know Erin is going to be helping me with the chat as well, to look at this. So does anybody have any questions?
So currently we're working on like doing territory market analysis, which is, it uses all public data off of the census to like create, opportunity, see what kind of market share we have in each area. So is that something that we could throw into like AI to where since it's all public data, it should be able to generate? Okay, because that's the goal, is to figure out, like what percentage are we in Knox County, or then narrow it down to what percentage are we in Knoxville and things like that. So
that is a great use case, Rachel. And it's something that actually I spoke with Laura about, along with Aaron and Thomas. We want to create something called a hit list, which is using generally available data on the web, being able to have like a map along with census data, socioeconomic data, existing contract data of ones that we haven't converted yet and could be on our hit list. And so absolutely, there are things like that we could overlay, which is like intelligence, like sales intelligence, into Sales Compass to be able to have what you're talking about. And so these tools to be able to go after new business and get them in the funnel and in the pipeline. So I love that. And it's actually in the future roadmap for Sales Compass to be able to do something like that. So we'll reach out to you and talk about it.
Yeah, that's great, because another thing that we use it, and you may not realize that when we're out in a certain county, like a dealer will push back and say, why are you setting up so and so? And we'll say, well, you only have 6% of the market, and we have to have at least 25% or whatever our goal is in that area. So we're able to use those numbers and say, well, if you can commit to give us this much, we will hold off. That way we can negotiate loyalty and also get an upfront contract from a dealer that, they're accepting us to open another client near them, right? So
Very cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And Aaron, I don't know if you wanted to say any more about that, about some of the development plans for Sales Compass, but opening it up to you to mention more if you would like.
Yeah, no, I think you covered it well. Obviously, Ashley mentioned earlier, initially it was a rapid prototyping thing, a need to replace the CRM that we had, and now that we've functionally got that down, the focus shifts to where can we go from here, and into a little bit more of a proactive space where we can start looking to the future and how we can bring business in. So we're definitely open to whatever ideas people have. We are working on every project we have available across the board. So we prioritize and try to get in what's going to have the biggest effect as quickly as possible. But yeah, no, I'm definitely excited.
Thank you, Aaron. Any other questions for AI? And I love Brent's Team Air IT Rocks. How sweet is that? And Oliver's hair is amazing. Yes, he has the most beautiful hair. I'll just have to say that. So thank you. What other questions do we have?
And as an overall platform, what do you think is the best one? I know some platforms incorporate stuff from others, things like that. So, I mean, I've been told Perplexity is probably one of the better ones because it'll bring in chat and Claude and all those. Yeah, what's your suggestion on that?
Well, I'm heavily biased to Perplexity, and those who know me know that. And so I use Perplexity probably 20 to 30 times a day at least. And so I love it. I've been using it for 2 years now. Well, actually, now 3 years. I've been using it for 3 years, and it's really evolved. Like I said, I've completely cut out Google. I don't use Google anymore. I use Perplexity because, just like what you said, Derek, it brings in all the models and it chooses best fit, but then you can also choose the model that you want to use because each of them have their own strengths. And I like that. Now, a lot of people love ChatGPT and it works best for them based on the types of questions and what they're trying to accomplish. And it may work better than Perplexity because for marketing, I would not recommend Perplexity because Perplexity is verbose. It is very verbose in terms of its answers. And so marketing will want something that is more succinct and tailored and creative and more natural speaking, whereas Perplexity sounds sometimes like a college professor talking to you, but you can ask it to talk to you any which way that you want to. You just have to specify. Like for instance, if I get some really complicated party trend reports, I put them through there and I say, I want you to talk to me like a high schooler. I need you to talk to me like I'm in the 10th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade. Please dumb it down for me. And I want high level. And that's how I'm able to get what I need out of it. And so that's how I get Perplexity to talk to me at the level that I'm at with some of this competitive information. So I would say it depends on what you're doing as to which tool would be the best. Now, if you've got confidential information that you're working with, I would say you need to work within the Infor chatbot, within our Copilot environment, or within Focus, or within any of the apps that we create that have chatbots. And so, but for generally available information, it just depends on try each one of them out. That's the best advice I can give, and then see if you like the results that you're getting. For real-time results, and if I want more of a social media response on what the sentiment is, I'll check Grok. I'll check from Grok because Grok will give more unbiased. Grok is very biased, don't get me wrong, but more of a general sentiment of how folks are feeling because it's populating from social media. If I want more research, I'll go to Perplexity. If I want something creative and to create something that's very nice, I'll use GPT. Like if I wanted to create a very nice email, I would potentially go to ChatGPT or a presentation. So hopefully a long-winded answer to answer your question, but hopefully that helped, Derek.
And
Alicia,
I
Laura
agree.
asked if anybody
Sorry.
has, if Team Air provides licenses for any of these platforms.
Well, we have some licenses for GPT, I think, that the marketing team has. And so we do not have licenses for Perplexity. We are looking at the Microsoft suite. And so chat for and Copilot on a case by case basis. And so we do have licensing for that. Where we would like people to start using the N4 chatbot because that's included within our tenant. And then help me on this, Aaron. I think we have access to all the major LLMs and you can actually choose between them to be able to get the answers that you want. So it would be like us using ChatGPT or Perplexity within our N4 environment.
Yeah, there's some expansion that's coming with that, and hopefully you guys have all seen it. Those of you who are using CSD daily, we provisioned yesterday your access to see the chat agent. What you'll find right now today, the way that it exists, and Alicia mentioned this earlier, we are in an early adopter program. We are pre testing this for them. And so what you'll find today is that it's there. It is trained on Infor documentation right now. So its scope right today is limited to Infor documentation about CSD and some of their other platforms. So you can ask questions in regards to CSD. As we continue into, as she mentioned, like April, CSD's next big release is in early April. And so by mid to late April, we expect to see some expansion of the functionality of the chat feature. As she mentioned and alluded to, you'll start to see some ability to return information, not just from Infor documentation, but actually from our documentation in Infor. So you'll be able to ask it questions about customers, questions about inventory, things like that. And then as we look forward to the future, that tool is going to expand into being able to do things like, hey, I need an order placed for this customer for these 5 items. And it'll go and start to be able to do some things on your behalf while you're continuing to work or you're on the phone or doing whatever. So that's going to trickle in as we continue to explore and expand it. Right now, it is Infor documentation, and we're going to slowly start adding features like expanding what it can do with the access that we have to some of the other LLMs.
Thank you, Aaron. Any other questions from the team? If not, I'd like to thank you all for your time today. We really appreciate you being here. AI is transforming the way that the businesses operate, and it's moving super fast. So if there's one important takeaway from today is that you stay curious, explore the tools, think about how they might help you in your role, and don't be afraid to experiment. We'll be sending out a short 1-minute survey after this to hear about what topics you want to hear in the coming sessions and what you'd like covered and how we can improve these presentations. Thank you again and enjoy the rest of your day.